This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by promoter Eddie Hearn here in Birmingham. Eddie, got a great fight tomorrow night, but the real main event is tonight.
You're buzzing, aren't you? How many people going?
There's like 30, 35 people.
How is that even going to be catered for in the Railway Inn? And who's paying?
Well, I mean, this is... Oh, you're going to have to cover this one, Eddie.
I think the fact that you're inviting everyone down and paying for everyone, 35 people, Andy. Boxing News is flying. Where's Tebbert?
He isn't actually coming. He's gone back home. He was here yesterday.
Oh, get him on the expenses.
I'll try, but
yeah,
I think...
50-50. Right.
Even that might be pushing it, Eddie, for 35 people, but yeah, I'm going to do you a solid as well. I'm going to get there an hour early.
Good.
And
just call me when it's ready, and I'll make my way there.
All right, well, I look forward to seeing you down there. But yeah, aside from that tomorrow night, Edwards-Yafai, there's a lot of respect there, Eddie, but the face-offs always seem tense between the pair of them.
Yeah, I think they've kept it nice and respectful deep down. Whether they like each other, whether they dislike each other, I think they're just both desperate to win. Sonny's been quite quiet in this camp, which I think is a good sign for Sonny. I think he's been really locked in because he knows the importance of this fight. And Galao looked physically much different on the scales than he has done in his previous fight, because I think he's been spurred on to train like an animal in this fight. And I would never give you a prediction because I represent both. But if I didn't represent either, I don't think I'd know how to pick or choose this fight. I think Sonny, when he gets... People keep saying this is a fight of two halves. I think that's actually dangerous for Galao, because if he loses that first half and allows Sonny to get in his rhythm, the confidence, everything's flowing, you're kind of like, you're trying to come from behind and stop him. And that's not easy to do when you're trying to cut off the ring and nail him down. So I think Galao has to start fast. You say Jesse Rodriguez showed the blueprint of how to be. It's Jesse Rodriguez. Like, it's not just a blueprint that everybody can follow. Sonny's very, very good. And I just don't know how it's going to play out. But I'm intrigued to see it. And I think the whole card is, I mean, the main reason that we invested so much and put this card together is for you, Andy. Because we know how, vocal and supportive you are of boxing in the Midlands. In fact, I remember you interviewing me at the Amir Khan Vargas press conference. Yep. You used to turn up everywhere in a suit and tie, do you remember, right? You used to look like a right muppet. Now you're a lot cooler because you got a few quid. And was that your first show?
That was my first show at Boxing Social.
Right, okay. That was the last time we actually did a decent crowd in Birmingham. Like 3,000, 4,000, I don't think is a decent crowd. Tomorrow, 6,000 plus, getting towards 7,000. That Amir Khan crowd was obviously a big crowd because it was Amir Khan. But we're getting there. And I think this market's becoming more and more important to us. But the fighters are selling so many tickets. But what's worked well with this show is the box office has sold well. And that's because it's a really intriguing main event.
Does that make it more enticing to come back next year, because you know that you don't need to rely upon a main event to sell the show?
Do you know the thing that I've noticed with British boxing is fighters are selling so many tickets, but if the main event's not strong enough, they won't always stay, right? Because we start the show so early. Like, say that you're coming to watch Aaron Bowen, right? He sold 500 tickets from Coventry. If he's on at 5:30 and the fight's over by 6, you've got 500 people that might go, well, I'm going to head back to Coventry and I'm going to go out for dinner, or I'm going to go to the pub, or I'm going to do this. That leaves a massive hole in the arena. Yep. Now, if the card's really good and the main event's really good, you hope that those 500 people from Coventry, and I'm appealing to every one of you right now, stay and watch the entire card. Because sometimes you get to the main event and there's a few holes in the arena, and that's when people say, oh, they haven't sold many tickets tonight. So actually we've sold out, but people have gone home. Hamza Uddin, 400 tickets from Walsall. Taylor Bevan, 150 tickets from maybe Wales or Bournemouth or wherever he is. So I'm hoping that the card is compelling enough and the main event is compelling enough, which I believe it is, that everybody stays and we build a great atmosphere for that main event. Catchall Prograis was a good example, where everyone stayed. Great atmosphere, great fight, and hopefully we get the same tomorrow. But very pleased with how it's done. And yes, we will be back. We do need the headline in Birmingham. We can't just put any old fighter on from anywhere in the country, unless it's a Khan or someone like that. But that's why the likes of Galao, Conor Walker, all of these guys, they need to be in big fights.
Callum Smith's return tomorrow night. There's some reports coming out that the Joshua-Buatsi fight's looking likely for next year. Is that the case?
It's definitely a fight that's being discussed, and it's definitely a fight that, you know, there's kind of 3 or 4 options for Callum Smith, for me. Joshua-Buatsi, Anthony Yard, Dmitry Bivol if he was to beat Beterbiev, and then there's not really a lot else out there. He just wants big fights, and would be right up for the Buatsi fight. Get through tomorrow night in what is hopefully just a run out. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of business done in the next 24 hours.
Can I ask if there's been preliminary talks at all
Yes.
over a Buatsi fight?
Yes, but you know, early. But the February 22nd card, I think His Excellency will want to announce that card soon, and that's why when we leave here and tonight and tomorrow, there'll be a lot of phone calls and a lot of business done.
How likely is it that everything we've seen on that Feb 22nd card is what will be announced?
I think that it's a bit frustrating for His Excellency when he's trying to build a card like we've never seen before, and journalists are reporting it. I know that's just boxing because everybody talks, but like, it's not always true. There are a lot of fights on that card that are being discussed. Some aren't going to happen, but you'll be so happy with the card. Just let him do his thing, and let us work away, me, Frank, and George and Spencer, to finish it off, and then you'll get an announcement you'll love.
Do you just want to ask on Shakur and Floyd Schofield? They've had like back and forth over social media, whether it's going to happen, whether it's not. Where do we sit? Do you think it will happen?
I mean, we made an offer to Golden Boy, of which my understanding is they're accepting. But the fight's got to be approved by His Excellency, by Riyadh Season, by Shakur. The reason that we even offered the fight is because it's not our responsibility who accepts a fight against Shakur. Our responsibility is Shakur Stevenson, and make the most compelling fight for him that can be made. Zepeda was the fight. We all agreed it. He apparently injured his hand in that fight. He doesn't want the fight anymore. So we go away. Could be Murataya, could be Floyd Schofield, could be all these guys that are calling Shakur out. It's not our responsibility to let you know if it's the right time for them. Schofield's been calling out Shakur for ages with his dad and with the team. If he's ready for the challenge, I like the fight. I think he's a great young fighter. And I don't think it's ever a good time to fight Shakur Stevenson, because I think he's a pound-for-pound great. But if you want to roll the dice against a true great for great money, it's there for you. So I don't know is the answer if Stevenson Schofield will happen, but we're up for it.
Ennis Ortiz, when we did our interview on Tuesday at Pat Brown's media lunch, I think when he went out, a lot of people were surprised of the 147 talk.
Yeah.
Was that something which was proposed to you,
Yes,
or was it something you guys wanted?
Yeah, we were proposed a fight at 147. I think whether it's a communication issue or whatever, I was quite surprised because obviously Ortiz was 147, but just recently moved to 54. We're happy to move to 54, but we just got to get our ducks in a row regarding the championship at 147. Can we unify in February or March, or if not, do we just let the belt go and make our move? You know, I like the Ortiz fight. I think he's a very good fighter, and I think it's a good style for Duran. But it's a big decision, and that decision will come, like I said, in the next 24 hours.
Would you say if it happens, it would be 154?
I think Ortiz has said, I'm not fighting you any less than 154. So we would have to probably vacate and probably move to 54, which is, you know, it's a big decision.
Just one thing I'm interested to get your thoughts on as well, Eddie. Daniel Dubois called out Jake Paul. There's been all of this talk about Vladimir Klitschko. I know there's talks of him potentially fighting Joseph Parker next year, but what do you think it is that he's trying to achieve by having these names mentioned around him?
Who?
Jake Paul and Vladimir Klitschko. For Daniel.
Oh, why?
Daniel
wants.
Yeah, so Daniel called out Jake Paul. There's obviously Vladimir Klitschko report as well. What do you think it is?
I think Daniel's not really into the clout chasing, or, you know, the trying to make a name for himself. I think he's probably looking at Jake Paul and said, well, if you fancy a shot at the world heavyweight title, I'm up for it. I think a lot of fighters look at the fight with Jake Paul and say, I'm up for it, because they think it's an easy night's work and it's a lot of money. And that's what Jake Paul brings to the table. But I don't expect to see Daniel Dubois against Jake Paul anytime soon.
What about the Klitschko stuff?
I think, you know, we had dinner with Klitschko, with Frank Warren and His Excellency a couple of months ago. I think the curiosity of fighting again still burns with Vladimir, but it's been a long time. It's been 9 years since he boxed, or something like 8 years. It's, you know, it's as we saw last week or a couple of weeks ago, it's a tough sport to go back to 2 years later, let alone 8 or 25. So yeah, I don't want to see Vladimir fight again. But look, he's his own man, and he's an all-time great, and he knows what he's doing.
I'm sure you've seen Edgar Berlanga and Caleb Plant having a number of back and forths over social media already. Is that, how far away do you think a fight like that will be?
I love the fight. I mean, Edgar will fight in March in a comeback fight, which will be probably in Puerto Rico. And then in the summer, he's up for any big name. Munguia, Pacheco, Plant, Charlo. Edgar's become a big name, off the back of a solid performance against Canelo. But first things first, a Puerto Rican homecoming in March.
Who are you looking at for that Puerto Rican?
Not sure yet.
Teofimo Lopez said that he sent offers to Devin Haney and your new man, George Kambosos Jr. What can you tell us?
I haven't received those, but it's probably because I'm a bit late to the party. I mean, we only signed him this week. George needs to fight at 140, and I think that'll come probably February time in Australia. And then he's ready for anyone, whether that's Teofimo. I think you got Paro Hitchens next week. If Paro was to win, Paro against Kambosos in Australia is a massive fight, and George has got a big name, big profile. He's capable of landing any of those fights, and we will deliver them for him.
Last one from me, Eddie. Chisora, Wallin. What do you make of that?
I don't think it's a bad fight. I think it's a very tough fight for Derek, because I know when I worked with Derek, he said he'd kill me if I put him in with a southpaw, and I did it once against Spilker, and he battered him. So, Wallin's got a win recently, I think, but he's coming off, obviously got broken down by AJ. Tough night for Derek, but hopefully he can do the business.
Eddie, I'll see you for this feast. It was going to be like 30 mixed girls, by the way.
Good man. See you there. Right.